Nothing in this podcast or on our website should be construed as medical advice. Consult your healthcare provider for your individual nutritional and medical needs. The information presented is based on our research and is strictly that of the author and not necessarily those of any professional group or other individual.
Hi, I'm Sue Becker from Bread Beckers. Welcome to Sue's Healthy Minutes. I'm so excited you've joined me today, and I hope this episode encourages you and allows you to find the answers you have been praying for the health of you and your family. Today on Sue's Healthy Minutes, I will continue our journey of Whole Grain Month by highlighting one of my favorite grains, Spelt. Spelt is a member of the wheat family and is considered by most to be an ancient grain, one that has not changed much since biblical times. It is believed to have originated in Mesopotamia, where a natural hybridization occurred between goat grass and emmer, another ancient wheat variety, giving us spelt. As civilizations began to spread, immigrants took spelt kernels with them, eventually making its way into Europe and beyond. For hundreds of years, spelt was the most widely used grain in Europe, known as dinkel in Germany and farro in Italy. People in Europe have grown spelt grain for over 300 years, but it did not reach the United States until about 1890. Although a relative of wheat, spelt is distinctive from our modern wheat varieties with a tough outer hull that must be mechanically removed. Spelt began to fall out of favor when new wheat varieties were introduced that were higher yielding and easier to harvest and clean. Some consider spelt to be a healthier grain option than traditional wheat, but extensive studies have been done that have not been able to substantiate these claims. But spelt, like wheat and most other grains, is an excellent source of carbohydrates and dietary fiber. It is also particularly rich in iron, magnesium, phosphorus, zinc, and of course, vitamin B3 or niacin. Compared with wheat, spelt typically contains a slightly higher protein content than wheat, but this can vary with growing conditions and rainfall during the growing season. It does have a slightly higher fat content than wheat, but less insoluble and total fiber. There are no significant differences in the levels of sugars or soluble fiber between spelt and wheat. Though spelt is typically higher in protein than our common bread-making wheat, it does have a slightly different protein structure. The protein structure of spelt is a little weaker. While spelt can be needed to develop gluten, it is believed that spelt does not contain one of the gluten-forming proteins known as gliadin, which may mean that some people with a wheat sensitivity can tolerate spelt. There are anecdotal reports of this, and I have heard testimonies of this from others, but no actual medical studies have addressed this issue. Spelt, however, is the only grain that contains a special type of carbohydrate known as mucopolysaccharides. These long-chain carbohydrates are broken down very slowly by the body, providing sustained energy and endurance. These mucopolysaccharides have been shown to stimulate the immune system and lower cholesterol, and they may play a role in preventing blood clots. Studies have also shown that they have anti-inflammatory properties as well, supporting healthy bones, joints, and cartilage. Legend has it that warriors from what is now Germany ate spelt before going into battle. The Roman legionaries, impressed by the German strength and stamina, decided to add spelt to their own diet and called it marching grain. Now, while we all want to eat a more helpful diet, we also want our food to taste good. So how does Spelt taste? Spelt is a delicious and highly versatile grain. In fact, it's one of my favorites. Spelt has a soft texture and a sweet, nutty flavor. When ground into flour, it is light and airy and works beautifully in both yeast leavened breads or quick breads. I describe Spelt's baking qualities as the best of both worlds, much like a hard wheat, but great and delicious like a soft wheat. It has adequate protein for gluten development, so it can be used to make yeast leavened breads. But with its higher moisture content, it will typically take about 25% more flour than a yeast bread recipe calls for when substituting Spelt for hard wheat. And it usually requires less kneading time. Spelt flour's soft texture, though, makes it equally desirable for muffins, pancakes, scones, biscuits, cakes, and cookies, all those goodies that you usually reach for soft wheat to make. And we always want to remember that whole grain Spelt, just like other whole grains, is equally delicious boiled and used as a base for whole grain salads. I have put a link to one of my favorite boiled Spelt salad recipes in the podcast description. I really love this recipe, especially in the summer when fresh peaches and corn are readily available. But I'm going to tell you, it is equally as good made with frozen peaches and whole kernel corn. I hope that you're enjoying our journey with me through the month of September as we celebrate and focus on the goodness of whole grains in this whole grain month. For centuries, people familiar with Spelt have observed the health benefits of this wonderful grain, and perhaps nowhere has Spelt been so appreciated as at the Hildegard Clinical Practice in Constance, Germany. The 12th century founder, Saint Hildegard, is said to have written this about Spelt. Spelt is the best of grains. It is rich and nourishing and milder than other grains. It produces a strong body and healthy blood to those who eat it, and it makes the spirit of man light and cheerful. If someone is ill, boil some Spelt, mix it with an egg, and this will heal him like a fine ointment. Today, this German abbey that she founded still sells Spelt products and even Spelt liquor. I am often asked, what is the healthiest whole grain to eat? But that is like asking what is the healthiest fruit or vegetable. They are all great. So why not try them all? And maybe this week, try some Spelt. I think you'll be glad you did. I want to thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll share this podcast as well as other episodes with a friend. Until next time, this is Sue Becker from Bread Beckers with Sue's Healthy Minutes.
Sue's Healthy Minutes podcast has been a presentation by the Bread Beckers Incorporated located in Woodstock, Georgia. For more information, store hours, and learning opportunities, visit breadbeckers.com and follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast and never miss an episode. Share this with 2 friends who would benefit from this information, and be sure to join us again next week for more of Sue's Healthy Minutes.